Anyway, yeah, I came across this article, and it's been all over the place, about this woman. And this representative, this state representative, actually served, what was it, 8 years in Congress. What did they say? Jean Schmidt. And I knew that was a familiar name. Yeah, she was there for 7 years. And she had a tendency to have a big mouth. And she was kicked out in the GOP primaries about 10 years ago. So her congressional career was over, although I'm sure she's 70 years old, I believe. So I'm sure she gets a big pension from her time in Congress. But she was elected to the state legislature. So she kind of was demoted, you might say. But now, I guess she has a death wish, a political death wish, and a desire not even to be elected as dog catcher. But Ohio has turned in, well, has never been a blue state. It's always been pretty much a Republican state. But she kind of went beyond the pale. And she's another one of these damn fools that thinks that if a woman gets raped and gets pregnant from rape, she doesn't have a right to an abortion. Because after all, that fetus is a baby, and that fetus has a right to make use of that woman's body and allow that woman to relive the trauma over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm sure she thinks the woman could just give the baby up for adoption. You know, that kind of crap. And some women still do that. Not too many these days. But you know, it doesn't say here that she believes this, but I'm sure she's of the idea that women, if they're really raped, they can't ovulate because trauma suppresses ovulation and women can't get pregnant during rape, or it's rare. And of course we know that's a crock of shit. It's just like any random sexual encounter where there's no birth control used. And of course there's going to be pregnancy. There's always, there's going to be some pregnancies. Just as there would be in consensual relationships with no birth control used. Random stuff. But you know she believes that. Because that old saw has been around forever. But, you know, some of the worst misogynists out there are women. And they've internalized this crap. And they really think they're inferior. And now her whole life has been, or at least in recent times, has been to have interests outside of the home. But it's still pervasive that women, you can have these interests outside the home, but by God, if you're pregnant, that's what you're for. That's all you're good for, is to fuck and have kids. And don't you ever forget it. And of course, rape victims, and I bet this woman really believes it, that they asked to get raped. There's really no such thing as rape. Because if you're virtuous, you don't get raped, right? Even if you're a baby, or even if you're in a nursing home and you're raped, you're still asking for it. You're a thing to fuck and pop kids out. That's your purpose in life. That's your entire purpose in life. And believe me, this is what underlies all this. This is on the right and on the left. You're not a human. Women are not human. That's what the abortion thing's about. It's not about whether a fetus is a human. It's about whether you see women as human. Or if they're just a vessel to be filled and pop a kid out and be a little servant around the house. Oh my God. Oh my God. We haven't progressed very much at all since I was a kid in the early 60s, and I just cringed at the idea that I would ever do any of that. It just makes me cringe. You know, there would be people out there that would say, I'm envious because I didn't get married and have kids. Why would I be envious of that? Why would I? I mean, if it makes you happy, fine. It's never bothered me. I've never once in my life told people, oh, you know, you shouldn't be married. You shouldn't have the kids and stay home. You shouldn't do that and do what I do, and that's so much better. I never have done that. I've always been happy for people, whatever makes them happy. You know, if it's not like, well, you know what, that cross-dressing shit. Other than that, and related things, you know, whatever makes a person happy, that's fine. But the thing that makes me mad is the idea that everybody has to do it. Everybody has to do it. And when I grew up, it was during the late 50s. Well, I was a little kid in the late 50s. But in the 60s and early 70s, that I had this training that this was all I was going to do in life. That I was going to get married right out of high school, and I was going to have kids, and I was going to stay home and be a good little wifey. And I did not want to do that. Now, never had the glamorous career and all that, but damn it to hell, because it's been financial instability, and I'm still playing catch up. I've talked about that before after what happened in Nevada 14 years ago, and I'm still lost ground. I'll probably have to work till I'm 80 if I live that long. But I didn't want that life. I didn't want to live like that. I never wanted to live like that. And I was so glad when the second wave women's movement came along and said, you know, you don't have to do any of this. This is all optional. Well, it always was optional. But you had to contend with social pressure. And it was tremendous, and it still is. The social pressure to do this stuff. To marry and have kids. But I know that this woman, getting back to this Schmidt gal, I'm sure she thinks women asked for it. If they're being raped. I'm sure she thinks that. I mean, I can't put words in her mouth, but I'm sure, because it's a common belief. It's a common belief, whether you're talking about horrific crimes, even involving kids, like this, with this rape and murder, and they reveal his name because it's UK media, where American media will not reveal the assailant's name. But you know, the little girl had no business walking with this boy. You know, it was all her fault. Even little kids, even there. And this kid was messed up and needs to be removed from society. He's totally messed up. And I might put the link to this there. But even here, they're asking, you know, the girl's asking for it, right? And she was murdered. And this gal, and I know I'm kind of disjointed because I don't have a script, but this woman, Schmidt, I'm sure thinks that women have no business going anywhere by themselves. They have no business living by themselves. They have no business traveling by themselves. They have no business going to a bar. They have no business doing anything unescorted by a man. Because they're asking to be raped. And by God, if you're raped and you get pregnant, well, that's on you. You shouldn't have been out doing these things. It is a common mentality. I talked about my mother and my sisters had that mentality. Where you weren't allowed to go anywhere alone. I remember when I went to Kentucky by myself to see Secretariat back in 1989. And I made the trip by myself. I didn't know a soul there, right? And I had a great time. Just great. You know, just the people were so hospitable. Everything was great. And I came back. It was a trip to remember. And it was great, a great escape or therapy or whatever you want to call it after my brother died, because he had died right before I made the trip. And it was right before Secretariat passed. It was like 2 months before he died. So he was still in good health then. But when I made that trip, my mother tried to talk me out of going. She tried to talk me out of doing that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. You know, blah, 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 blah. And I had to check in with her after, you know. I mean, I was like 34 years old. But she didn't think women should travel alone. And one of my two sisters, both sisters would do this, but the one that passed away a couple of years ago, she was really bad for that. That she was just like my mother. Well, you shouldn't do anything by yourself. You should do you should do this. You should do this. And you know, because I always did sports alone. I always did jogging alone, running, you know, hiking alone, bike riding alone, da 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 da. And I did it, and I've done it for 50 years. Without incident, any real incidents. But always the warnings, right? Because you ask for it. If something happens to you, you ask for it. And this woman here, old Schmidt, she thinks, I know she thinks women ask to be raped. And it's punishment. The baby is punishment. Because you shouldn't have been doing all that. And she gives lip service to, oh, if... and it says here, a Democratic state legislator described a hypothetical scenario in which a 13-year-old girl became pregnant after being raped. And in a real case scenario, this is almost always because of incest or actually rape. And it's not, I mean, by law, you can't consent under 16, no matter what. It's not consensual. But it's pretty much, it's either statutory, where an adult male has gone in there, or it's an incest situation. But she says here, this hypothetical, they said, this bill would require this 13-year-old to carry the felon's fetus to term, regardless of any emotional or psychological damage or trauma that may be inflicted on this 13-year-old girl to develop the felon's fetus. Is that right? And then she replies, rape is a difficult issue, and it emotionally scars the individual, all or in part, for the rest of their life, just as child abuse does. But if a baby is created, it is a human life. And whether that mother ends that pregnancy or not, the scars will not go away, period. So she should just have the baby and be reminded of the rape. And not only that, but if she keeps the baby, then she's got to worry about being sued for custody. That's happened. And let's face it, with when it comes to rape, most of the time, the vast majority of the time, it's not stranger rape. It's typically somebody the woman knows or girl knows. And so they're stuck. Once you have a kid, you're stuck to that kid's dad, directly or indirectly. But this is a woman, this Schmidt gal is a woman who thinks her sex is not fully human. Their whole purpose in life is to be a mother. It's all about Mother's Day sentiment. And, oh, you're fulfilling your role. Because, remember, women have roles, right? They have a place and they have roles. Men don't. I mean, it's all nebulous with men. It's, you know, oh, I'm a protector, provider. That's about it. That's about it for dudes. But women are supposed to do all the shit work that men are too lazy to do. And that's their role. Women always have a role. So, anyway, yeah, this is a bunch of crap. And this is where she talks about opportunities. It's a shame that it happens, but there is an opportunity for that woman, no matter how young or old she is, to make a determination about what she's going to do to help that life be a productive human being. Yeah, you're going to dump that baby on the grandparents. The grandparents are the ones that are going to raise it. Or that baby might wind up dead because she can't handle it. Or, oh, I bet old Schmidt is real nostalgic about you marry the father. You go and marry the father and give the baby a name. Even if it's a rape, but like I said, most rapes, the rapist is known to the woman, the victim. Oh, just because you have emotional scars doesn't give you the right to take the life. You are nothing but a worthless sack of shit, Schmidt. Yeah, you ought to change your name to shit, because that's what you are. And it isn't a baby. You don't see yourself as human. That's the problem. Anyway, that kind of got me off that. God damn, 15 minutes? I can't do this, because it takes too long to upload these vids. So anyway, it's a good thing I didn't go to Idaho, because now it's snowing up where my nephew and his wife live. So I knew that was going to happen. So I am going to make the trip in June, and I did leave a message on his Facebook yesterday, a couple of them, and I was going to pay tribute sometime in June to go visit him, visit his niche. But you know what I found out? Remember last fall, when he died, I went and got a prime rib, and I had it around Thanksgiving to pay tribute to him, right? In part, and also to celebrate Thanksgiving. And you know what I found out yesterday? On the 27th of April, not only was it his birthday, but it was also National Prime Rib Day. Now, if that isn't funny, I don't know what is. So, apparently, from now on, I will just celebrate his birthday, not commemorate the day he died. I guess that's what I need to do. Anyway, that is about it. No more of this crapola about women are just vessels to bear a baby, and they're just designed to be mothers. That's all they're good for, and all that other crap. Yeah, it's an opportunity. Sure it is. Sure it is.